Hey everybody, it's me, Sven here, bringing you day number 241 of Let's Talk About Autism. It's the first video we've had snow on the ground since, well, the first video of the series at the beginning of April. So, before we get started, I'd love you to hit the like and subscribe buttons down below the video. It would help me out tremendously. So, today, the IDEA, or Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, turns 50 years old. It was signed into law by Gerald Ford on November 29th, 1975. And it basically states that schools or school districts should have to provide free and accessible special education for children with disabilities, which, that makes sense. There's children with disabilities all over the place, so why wouldn't you need something like that? And at the time, it was fine. But in the 50 years since then, the half century, a lot has changed. Back in 1975, there were basically no diagnosis of autism. It was like 1 in 10,000 or something. And now, like 3% of every kid today has an autism diagnosis, which is just ridiculous. So, and we've had this system go from just being about helping kids into a money, lucrative, political, and exploitative business. It's basically a part of Big Pharma. I've talked about this before, so you can check those videos on the details of why special education or special needs is terrible. But it's created a system like where bureaucrats and school officials and pharmaceuticals and teachers unions and left-wing NGOs and all sorts of disgusting people, corrupt people, have gotten themselves into the system to exploit millions of children across the country for their own money. They've made billions and billions of dollars off of this. And all in the name of giving kids special needs, but it's not really. First off, we're seeing a lot of healthy and capable kids being placed in these programs, which, I'm one of these kids that was put in there. And we have a system where government and doctors and school officials are deciding whether or not some of these kids need programs. That's how we get healthy, capable kids placed in these horrible programs that do nothing more than harm them. And it's just become a money lucrative indoctrination camp, a segregated one at that, for kids who don't really even need it. And some kids who maybe do need some kind of special accommodation aren't getting it. But I haven't really seen as much of a case of that. So what we need to be doing is, instead of having more treatment, why don't we just have the correct treatment? Kids are being diagnosed with stuff through fraud, through improper or otherwise fraudulent examination. And it's just evil what is happening. And we got to do something about this. What we should do is amend this act, the idea. The idea of, idea makes sense in theory, but in practice, it might have worked initially, but it's turned into this huge system of corruption with Big Pharma getting itself involved and making billions off of the industry and exploiting all these poor kids that are growing up without a childhood. So what we need to do is amend this act to prohibit such corruption, to get all the bureaucrats, get all the teachers unions, get all the NGOs and the corrupt politicians and corrupt doctors out of the system, and parents should be the ones determining whether or not their kids actually need treatment. And in most cases, the parents can do it themselves. They don't need a school to do it. If a parent is going to demand that a school do it, they're not really doing their job. A parent's job is to tell a kid right from wrong or safe versus dangerous. That's the parent's job. We shouldn't rely on schools to do it. We've seen what happens when you quote-unquote trust the system. We've shown you can't trust the system because they're corrupt, they're fraudulent, they're evil, they're a bunch of globalists. So we got to fix this. We're going to amend this policy and give a lot of control back to the parents, back to states, and heck, back to counties. But parents are the ones who should be deciding whether or not their kids need treatment. So any healthy kids who don't need it can be removed from the program and be given something else if they need it. And parents can provide that, or at the very least, and then replace special needs with something that actually helps. Something that helps with socialization, something that helps with integrating us into the mainstream society. We want to live like the people around us. We want to be integrated. We don't want any of this neurodiversity crap. We just want to be a part of the United States of America, the greatest country in the world, and special education that the IDEA Act has largely created has obviously not done that. It's just created a huge mess that I've already talked about in a lot of videos. So We got to fix this, and we're going to. We're going to pass a new act to reform the idea and replace it and have parents decide whether or not their kids need treatment and what treatment they need, because we can't have any more of this child abuse. But yeah, that was day 241. I'll see you on day 242. Thank you very much for watching this video. God bless you, and God bless America. Goodbye.